Hello friends, greetings. I hope you're doing well. I am here to talk to you about the last TBR of the year and basically some reading plans for the end of 2023. I am getting over a sickness, so I apologize. And I was also just setting everything up outside, and then my neighbor started cleaning his pool. So we are going to be in a very scholastic, me at a desk type of situation right now. Okay, so first off, before I get into the books, my goal for basically rounding out the year is to have way more favorite books. I think I have like 10 or 11 or 12 five-star reads from my year. So I'm going to be focusing on going back to some series and furthering series or finishing out series. And that's going to be my focus for November and December and rounding out the year. There are a few releases that have yet to come out in November that I'm very excited about that we can chat about today. So yeah, let's get into the TBR. I will start with what I'm currently reading right now, which is Eyes, Guts, Throat, Bones by Moira Fowley. And this is a horror and speculative anthology. This is a debut anthology by an Irish author that I picked up when I was in Dublin this past summer. I'm almost done with it. I have maybe 4 more stories to read. Her writing is very dense and very unique, so it takes you a little while to get into the style of writing that she chose for each story because they are inconsistent writing styles, and she picks a specific style for the feeling that she wants to give the reader in that story. But because these are short stories, by the time you're used to the writing, it's almost done. I would say this is going okay. I wouldn't even say that I'm necessarily liking this book, but I am gonna finish it and I'll have it done by the end of the year. Next, I'm about to talk about a book that I do plan on reading in November, and I'm ashamed how long it has taken me to pick this book up and complete it. And there's a little bit of a backstory because this book was released a year ago this month. This is The Last Hero by Lyndon A. Lewis, which is the third and final book to the First Sisters trilogy, which is an adult epic sci-fi series, which I absolutely fell in love with in March of last year. I started this book and then put it down. I've been very nervous about this book. I care a lot about these characters. I've been very wary of actually getting into it and seeing how Lewis decides to close this out. In the summer, I started this book with a more serious intention. I'm like, I'm gonna read it. I got 100 pages in, and I was really enjoying myself, but I wasn't feeling this compulsive, I need to be reading this, oh, I cannot wait to pick this book up tonight feeling. And I got that feeling with the first 2 books. So maybe I'm not in the right headspace to pick this up right now, so I decided to leave it. Now that it's November and this book was officially released a year ago, I really need to read this book this month, and I do want to not bring the First Sister trilogy into 2024. I want it to be done. And I want to know. So I've very magically avoided spoilers for this, and I feel every week that I don't pick this book up, I am, just pushing my luck. So this book is definitely going to get read. Continuing on with our Sentiment of Finishing series. If you do not know, I have been reading the Lightbringer series this year, and this is a 5-book fantasy, epic, political, sprawling fantasy series by Brent Weeks. This is the 5th and final book, and I'm going to be reading it either this month or in December. I'm going to finish this series this year. This is such a fun series. The magic system is centered around light, and if you are a drafter, meaning that you can use light to produce magic, you can be inducted into the Chromaria, which is a school to learn how to use your magic, and you are basically thrust into a few different avenues. You can be a politician, you can be a soldier, you can be part of the Black Guard, which is the elite security in the Chromaria. There's a few different avenues that you can take. Ultimately, drafters are well respected. They get a lot of privilege in the society, and they also die. The faster you draft, the faster you die. So they die very, very young, and are often immortalized in their martyrdom. We follow a few characters because this is multiple POV, and the main character I would say is Kip Guile. Wow, Starting to explain this book is like giving me a headache. Okay, the main character is Kip Gyle, and he is a bastard son of Gavin Gyle. And Gavin Gyle is the Prism. And the Prism is a religious figure as well as a political figure. He is the most powerful drafter, and one is ordained by Orhallim, which is their god, every 7 years. So current Prism is Gavin Gyle, who is Kip's dad. Gavin can draft every single color and not be depleted. Kip is this wonderful, innocent character who is thrust for reasons into the politics of the Chromeria, and he begins to climb the ranks and gets to know a number of people who Gavin Gyle is loved by and is hated by, and therefore Kip is loved and hated as well because of his father. Incredible. Love these characters, love the twists at the end of each of these books. The magic system is just so much fun to me. So I really enjoyed this series, and I fully expect Brent Weeks to bring it in this last installment. So the Lightbringer series has absolutely been an amazing companion throughout my year this year, and I'm excited to finish it before 2023 ends. Next up, I'm going to talk about Defiant, which is an anticipated release of mine. Brandon Sanderson's Skyward series is finishing this year. On November 21st, Defiant is going to be released, and I am going to be eagerly awaiting its publishing so that I can read it and cry, probably. It is a YA sci-fi series following the planet Detrius and our main character Spenza, who is a pilot, and pilots are very respected in the society, and she also goes through a schooling, and there's an academy. It's got themes of like robots, and it's got themes of alien and like first encounter, and then it's got themes of found family because Spenza is an outcast in her society but finds people in the academy who she just really clicks with. Each book is very different and the setting changes. It was just way bigger, way more sprawling than I thought it was going to be than when I read the first book. I really enjoyed the first book. Actually, I didn't enjoy the first half of the first book, but that last half was just so good. And when I finished it, I thought that it was going to go in one direction, and I was very, very wrong. So I would highly recommend the series. Even though I haven't read the final book, I will be reading that by the end of 2023. Okay, the last two books I'm going to talk about are tentative TBR books. I would love to read them, but these that I've just spoken about are definitely higher priority. Firstly, She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan was a historical fantasy book that I read in the beginning of last year and really, really enjoyed. So the duology is completed by the publication of He Who Drowned the World, which happened earlier in the summer this year. And I did not pick that book up immediately, but it's really heavily on my radar that I absolutely want to read it. And I would love to fit that in because I feel like that book is a great example of a book that could be 5 stars and could add to my 5-star, repertoire of 2023. So I gave this book 5 stars, and I feel like it could be a 5-star prediction for me. I haven't bought it. I would really love to own a copy of it, but I just haven't brought myself to buy it because I haven't felt ready to read it immediately. And we don't want another situation like The Last Hero on our hands. So that's He Who Drowned the World by Shelley Parker Chan. Lastly but not least is the completion of the Founderside trilogy. I absolutely adore these books. They have been such a wonderful companion of mine. And it's been over a year since I've read the second book, Shorefall. I gave both these books 5 stars. So why am I not, this is the point I'm trying to make, guys. Why am I not prioritizing picking up the 5-star predictions that I know I have on my list? I'm going to go on a little tangent here. I find myself picking up audiobooks and picking up books and thrillers and romance novels that are like, I've never read from the author before, or they sound like vaguely interesting. And then I end up reading them and they're entertaining. Sometimes I give them 4 stars. Most of the time they're 3 stars. Why am I not prioritizing picking up these books? So the final book was published in May of 2022, and I wanted to wait until the paperback copy came out because I wasn't as absolutely desperately drooling for it, and I like my copies when, this is very pretentious, when I can I like my copies, if they're in a series, to all match. Lachlan's is the book I'm talking about. It's the third and final book in the Founderside trilogy, and it's a fantasy story. It follows a band of misfits who really don't want to get roped in together, but accidentally do because of a major issue that happens with their magic system beginning to break down. It is both part like heist story, found family, and it does have a pretty cool magic system that involves scribing, where it's basically like this coding where you can encode an object to have a magical ability. It is not like nearly as heavy on the politics than like some of the other books that I've showed you today. So this would be a good option for those who want to get into like a high adult fantasy with like a cool magic system, but is not as down for the politics as if you liked the David Bode trilogy or Lightbringer. Okay, so here are some books that I want to read at the end of the year. Thank you for joining me for this final TBR. Just a short little sit-down video for me to chat about what my plans are for the rest of the year. And hopefully you guys have some amazing plans in store for rounding out your year in 2023. If you have any books that are on your final TBR of the year, let me know what they are. Also, if you have read and or enjoyed these series, please let me know your thoughts. And that is it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy other bookish content like this, feel free to subscribe. I'd love to have you. And other than that, have a great rest of your day. I will see you in the next video. Bye.